Happy Wednesday, readers. Today for Reading Workshop, you're going to need your reading notebook, your green resource folder, and your Tiger Rising book packet. Today in your green folder, you're going to be opening it up. Remember, don't take it out of your anchor binder. Just open it up on the left side. We're going to be taking the next few items out. You're going to take out the teach page that says character analysis, the 2 pages that look like webs, and the last pages are for your mentor text you're going to use for your independent work called Thunder Rose. So you're going to take out the 2 pages that are front and back. The remaining pages are going to be used for the next day, so go ahead and place those in your folder, and then close your folder in your binder and place that back in your basket. We're going to then go ahead and open up to our reading notebook. We have been working on our interpreting characters unit, where we've been studying character traits and telling the difference between those character traits and physical traits. We were looking at how to make defensible ideas about our characters and what the information the author is providing reveals about our characters and possible changes that are told to us. When we have our defensible ideas, we then further our understanding of the significant ideas about how those characters might change and their desires might shift throughout the story. And then yesterday we talked about looking at a character and looking at them with the idea that they're a complicated character, that their behavior might change depending on who or where they're at. So we looked at Sistine, talking about how she might be perceived when she's around people who aren't considered to be her friends, and then who she is when she is around Rob when they were friends. And then you were told an example of Mrs. Ling, how I am in the classroom, in the kitchen, and you were asked to complete your paragraph. So make sure that you've completed that paragraph. We're going to turn the page, and we're going to be inserting page number 41, and then turn back to the table of contents. Remember that the table of contents needs to be nice and organized. Remember, you can pause your video at any time to make sure that you're finished recording before you move on. So we're on page 41, and this is going to be entitled Character Analysis. And today's date is 9-30-20. Let's go ahead and turn back to page 41. We have quite a few things that we're going to insert, and then we're going to talk about how we can apply them to our unit on the Tiger Rising. So taking your papers, you're going to start by using the first teach page that's titled Character Analysis. Use your glue stick. Go ahead and make your box, and then the X through the middle. Then you're going to take your first web, and just like we do in math or in any other subject, if we have something that needs to be displayed to the side, I typically have the top of the paper towards the inseam of the notebook, so when we turn, we can write it nice and neatly. Then you're going to turn the page, and you're going to insert the last one that you're going to be using during our classwork, your independent work, I should say, on the next page. So all of this is dealing with our lesson on character analysis. The 2 pages that we refer to as our mentor text, just set those to the side because you will need those when you do your independent work today. Let's go ahead and turn back to our original teach page. So I'm going to take my highlighter, and I'm going to highlight the lesson focus, which is understanding how to build a character analysis. On our page, it says to identify the character traits, emotions, and motives to help the reader understand the character through the actions and dialogues. So we're learning how to analyze a character more deeply by looking at the information the author has provided through their dialogue with other characters, the way that they are interacting and that they react to situations, and with their emotions and possible character traits. So when we look at the further down, we are looking at the difference between what we consider to be internal motivations and external. So the internal would be the thoughts that are going on in the character's mind or the words that they're choosing to use, so word choice, and then their actions and feelings about situations. When we look about the external, that's what we can see on the outside, and we refer to those previously as our physical traits or what we see. We're then moving down to look at what it means to be direct and indirect. So direct is what the reader is told by the narrator or through the dialogue, and the indirect is what the reader infers by words, actions, and context clues. So just like when we talked about explicit and implicit, explicit meant that it was explained, and implicit means that we had to infer our answers. So we're having the same type of ideas here of what the author is providing us with either direct information, so right there told by the author, or the indirect where we have to do the inferring based on their word choice. So we're going to take a look, an example of a web that we're going to be building in a moment about one of our characters. So this is a character map based on a character trait. So it says at the top, how can you tell if someone is adventurous? And in this instance, they would be describing a character as the word adventurous. When they use the character trait of adventurous, they would put that in the center circle to then show that they needed to describe the character being adventurous by listing possible examples or actions, words spoken in dialogue. So they're building their support more specifically about how their character would then be described as the word adventurous. So underneath the word adventurous, it says not afraid to do new and dangerous or exciting things. So this would be considered the definition for this character trait. Some examples that they pulled for the character that they were referring to is someone who's adventurous would be considered to take risks. They might take a new job, go somewhere they've never been before. They don't settle, the sky is the limit. They don't change their mind. They go out on their own, and they would be considered to be independent. So looking at this character map, you're looking at a character trait and then possible support or examples that would help reinforce your idea of how this word would describe a character. Underneath, we have to have the reminder that our characters, just like in The Tiger Rising, our characters of Sistine and Rob, we look at them through different lenses based on the story and how the author is changing those characters. So in the beginning, the reader might learn the main character's strengths and weaknesses, things that are affecting them or the way that they initially react to situations. In the middle of the story, this is when events are starting to occur that cause our main characters to think about life differently. And then in the end of the story, where we're getting into with The Tiger Rising, the main character is going to show growth. How did they change based on those obstacles or challenges that they faced throughout the story? So today we're going to be looking at our first character map during our modeling. So we're going to be focusing on our character of Sistine. So I'm going to go ahead and write Sistine's name above our character map. And we've been talking about who Sistine is and some of the evidence that helps support some of the word choices that we've made. So if we jump back to some of our previous lessons, when we were doing the lesson on reaching for precise language, we talked about trying to come up with a word that describes who our characters are based on their actions and dialogue. And we said a good word that we might choose is the word passionate. So because we've chosen this word in the past and talked about some of the support, this is a good one for us to use since we've already had some previous discussion about it. So we're going to fill in the character trait of passionate. So we're going to fill in where it says, how can you tell if someone is, and then we're going to write the word passionate. And then it says for us to list actions and behaviors of people who might be passionate. So although we're focusing on a character trait, passionate, we're going to use our evidence of the character that we have been reading about to help develop ideas of this word. So in the center, we're going to write the word passionate. And then we're going to write the definition for the word passionate. So the definition we're going to write is showing or caused by strong feelings or a strong belief. After you're done writing the definition for the character trait, then we were listing examples from the text. So this could be direct dialogue, it could be examples of her actions or her feelings and some of her thoughts. So some of her examples directly from the text is that she's not afraid to stand up to bullies. This could be in reference to standing up to the three Munger brothers on the bus on the first day that she arrived. The second example could be a piece of dialogue, so a quote that she said. So we says what she thinks. She says, "You're an artist," when speaking to Rob about the wood that he's whittled and her looking at those objects she found in his room. She's also not afraid to wear what she wants. She will wear a pink frilly dress to school even though no one else is, or she'll wear a boy's clothes just to make herself feel more comfortable, but she's not looking for other people's reactions. It's what she wants to do. We would consider her to be a good friend to Rob. She stands up for him and kind of pushes him to dig deeper into how he feels and be able to then pull him out of this depression that he's in about hiding all of his deeper feelings about his mom. It's also her idea to let the tiger go, so she knows what's right and what's wrong, and she's not afraid to kind of say, this is what we're going to do. She also has very strong feelings about her parents. So she's very upset with her mom and doesn't want to stay with her mom, but she thinks the world of her dad and keeps referring to how her dad's going to come and pick her up very soon. And then a last example that helps support our thinking that Sistine is passionate is that she doesn't give up when she thinks she's right. So that could be pushing Rob to agree to do something, or it could be any of the ideas that we just listed, but she's not one to relinquish control. She knows what she wants and she's going to continue on. So we were able to focus on our main character and a character trait that describes who Sistine is throughout this story. We then were able to define this word and list examples that come directly from the text. So we're grounding our idea back in our text evidence. Today for your classwork, you're going to turn the page, and this is where you're going to use your mentor text of Thunder Rose. With Thunder Rose, you're going to be reading the story, so you can see that there's 2 pages, but they're front and back. So you need to read through the information, and you're going to be learning about the main character, Thunder Rose. When you're reading your information about the character Thunder Rose, I want you to be developing an idea of who this character is. What is a character trait that would describe who this character is throughout the story? So at the top of your second character chart, you're going to write the character's name, Thunder Rose. Then you're going to come up with a character trait that describes who she is. Remember, we have a list of character traits that you can pull from. So if you turn back in your reader's notebook, and you're going to look for the list that says character traits. So we're going to look at, it's on lesson 36. So we're going to put, look back on page 36 for a character trait. So I'm going to just write traits. Come up with one of those character traits that you would like to use to describe who Thunder Rose is. Write that character trait in the blanks. Write it in the middle of your circle. Define it, meaning that you need to look up the definition, and then pull evidence directly from your text. So you have your text that you should have read. So pull examples of her actions, of dialogue, things that support the character trait that you have chosen. Today, when you submit your completed assignment, you're going to take a picture of your Thunder Rose completed character chart, the character chart on Sistine and the word passionate, and the completed teach page from our first page. When you're done, you're going to be looking back at your book packet and finishing up the pages that were given to you yesterday. So those were going to be pages 17. So let me turn to page 17. And remember, when I refer to page 17, that's the page number we recorded on the top. So you're going to complete the pages 17 through 20 in this book packet that are on reference of chapters 21 through 25. You should have started this yesterday. You were given additional time yesterday afternoon. So today you need to finish it and take pictures to submit for this completed activity. Tomorrow we will have our next chapter test using your completed book packet pages.